Blake Lively's carefully curated image collapses after hidden footage, violent workplace abuse, and falsified legal records expose her in federal court.
Well, are you sure it didn't happen before? You have no basis to ask that.
Her recollection is horrible.
No, it's not.
Her own lawyer walks out and leaks a damning affidavit, while Ryan Reynolds secretly feeds evidence to prosecutors. Now she's facing perjury, obstruction, and total career implosion. Yes, it's exactly what you just saw. Blake Lively's lawyer literally stormed out of court after some wild hidden bombshells got exposed.
Specifically told her on the phone not to cancel that appointment, that it wouldn't be a problem.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to be here for the decision, that's your business.
What started off as your basic boring legal hearing in May 2025 turned into a complete federal crime scene faster than Blake Lively could fake a humble Instagram post. Like seriously, this wasn't supposed to be some courtroom thriller. It was just a simple Rule 26F conference. You know, where lawyers politely sip water, discuss timelines, and keep the drama to emails. But no, not when Blake's involved. Because leave it to this woman to bring the red carpet chaos straight into a federal court.
They were the ones who kind of created this new Me Too law, and they wanted Judge Lehman to use it in Blake Lively's case, which is basically saying that if you are suing someone for SH, they're not allowed to sue you back for defamation.
And let me be clear, this wasn't just a little slip-up. A random courtroom file magically appeared and exposed footage that no one, and I mean no one, was ready for. The moment it played, the judge, yes, Judge Curtis Lennox, who's apparently been holding court longer than Blake's been faking relatability, stood up, grabbed his dignity, and walked out. Mid-hearing. Didn't even wait for a recess. He literally muttered, "This isn't Hollywood. This is federal court," and dipped. Gone. Out the door. Probably straight to HR asking how he got assigned to this circus in the first place.
She chose not to be here.
Judge, can you hear me? Oh, okay.
So what exactly did this cursed footage reveal? Blake Lively secretly meeting Justin Baldoni behind closed doors. You know, the same man she swore under oath she hadn't seen or spoken to in 6 months. The same Justin who's now a lead witness in this whole mess. So yeah, when that tape rolled, you could feel the oxygen get sucked out of the courtroom. And while Blake was probably somewhere mentally editing her next damage control essay, Matt Gabriel, her supposed star lawyer, was sitting there realizing he'd been duped like the rest of us. The man had defended her, vouched for her, tried to spin her mess into a narrative. And now he was staring at that screen like he just saw his entire career flash before his eyes. Within hours, he was no longer Team Blake. Nope. He flipped harder than a reality show contestant during tribal council.
Well, Your Honor, I think this is outrageous. You're going forward without the prosecutor.
But wait, let's rewind back to the footage. Because it wasn't just Blake and Baldoni in the video. No, a third man showed up, carrying a briefcase and a file folder like he was auditioning for a legal drama. According to courtroom insiders, this guy is believed to be an unregistered legal associate tied to Blake's PR circus. Not a lawyer, not authorized, just floating into the room with Blake like this is some backlot strategy session. And here's where it gets spicy. Baldoni himself confirmed the meeting in his testimony. No lawyers present, no court authorization, just Blake playing attorney, director, and PR puppet master all at once. Prosecutors didn't even flinch. They called it what it was, witness tampering, which, by the way, is literally a federal crime. You don't just break that law and walk out in Louboutins, honey. That's jail-worthy behavior. So, what did the judge do next? Just order a forensic review of all of Blake's phone records. And when I say all, I mean all. Texts, calls, deleted messages, voicemails she thought were gone forever. If Blake even breathed near her phone in the last year, it's getting pulled. And you better believe they're looking for more lies buried in her digital trail. Now, let's talk about Matt Gabriel. Poor guy. 1 minute, he's standing in court next to Blake, thinking he's defending a wrongfully accused celeb. The next, he's packing his briefcase and writing a handwritten affidavit with the emotional energy of someone who's just realized their client is a compulsive liar. He straight up walked out mid-trial, didn't look back, didn't say goodbye, just vanished from her defense team like common sense from Blake's decision-making. And this affidavit, brutal. This wasn't a polite resignation letter. This was a flamethrower. He wrote that he had been intentionally misled by Blake and her PR team. Said they pressured him to use doctored timeline documents. And the pièce de résistance? He admitted to submitting a memo that claimed Blake had no contact with Baldoni less than 48 hours after the footage proved otherwise. I mean, the woman couldn't even wait a full week before tanking her own lawyer's credibility.
Some letters that were sent to Judge Lehman.
His quote, and I'm not kidding, was, "I can no longer ethically represent a client who weaponizes the truth." Weaponizes the truth. That's not just a mic drop, that's a missile strike. But here's what gets me. You've got this celebrity, Blake Lively, who built her entire brand on being the girl next door. Relatable momfluencer, who makes cupcakes in a $7,000 kitchen while quoting Maya Angelou. And behind the scenes, she's lying to federal judges, gaslighting her legal team, and holding shady hotel meetings with key witnesses. Girl, this isn't Gossip Girl, this is Criminal Minds. And then there's Ryan Reynolds. You'd think he'd be out here defending his wife, right? Wrong, because word on the street, and by street, I mean court insiders, is that Ryan himself has been leaking sealed intel to prosecutors. I mean, what a twist. Mr. Deadpool out here dead-dropping files to the feds just to make sure he doesn't get dragged down with her. And honestly, smart move. Because this isn't just a bad look. This is career suicide in 4K. And it makes perfect sense. Who else would have access to Blake's private schedules, her PR team's playbook, her internal memos? You think random paralegals are leaking this stuff? No. This is coming from someone who's been watching the whole storm build up and has finally decided, nope, I'm out. And Ryan has everything to lose. His brand, his deals, his carefully curated persona as the funny guy who loves his wife and sells gin. But not even aviation can fix this disaster. And if you thought Blake Lively's legal disaster couldn't get more unhinged after that secret meeting footage, honey, welcome to Preserve Hell, where Blake's Pinterest-perfect brand was apparently just a horror movie with better lighting. So let's talk about that bombshell testimony from a former Preserve employee, because this wasn't just another HR mishap. This was an actual war crime committed with a wine glass. According to this ex-employee, the year was 2015, the location was Aspen, and the vibe was anything but cozy retreat. Picture it, your boss is yelling about marketing deadlines, and next thing you know, Blake Lively, yes, the same woman who acts like she makes homemade jam with angel tears, launches a full wine glass across the room like she's auditioning for a reboot of Kill Bill. The glass hits the woman's shoulder, results in 6 stitches, nerve bruising, and the kind of emotional trauma that not even retail therapy can cure. Now, if you're thinking, surely Blake helped, apologized, or called an ambulance, let me stop you right there. Because what did Blake do instead? She allegedly forced this employee, under duress, to sign a $40,000 NDA. And guess who helped bury the whole thing? Leslie Sloan, the shared PR rep for both Blake and Ryan. You know, the same woman who probably ghostwrites their couple captions on Instagram about family values and organic living. Yeah, that Leslie.
And they were paid hush money, apparently, and Leslie Sloan, Blake Lively's publicist, and Ryan Reynolds' publicist, helped bury this.
But don't worry, it gets worse. The hospital records? Hidden. Filed under a fake name. Because apparently when you're rich and reckless, you can commit assault and call it a kitchen accident. And while this poor woman is recovering, what's happening at the office? Slack messages, where team members joke about Blake's bleach-fueled tantrums in the supply closet. Bleach. Imagine walking into your break room and Blake Lively's there, rage-mopping with Clorox while threatening to fire someone over an Instagram caption. The courtroom reaction? Nuclear. Judge Lennox had already walked out once, but this time, he slammed his gavel, called it a mockery of legal due process, and stormed out again. And when a federal judge walks out twice in one trial, that's not a scandal. That's a sign from the universe that your career needs last rites. But wait, there's money involved. Of course there is, because turns out that $40K wasn't a one-time payment. Nope. Now we know that 5 additional hush money settlements, totaling over $200,000, were quietly paid out between 2013 and 2016. And they weren't even subtle about it. The subpoenas have been issued, and Preserve's internal HR records are officially under a forensic microscope. It's not looking good for Blake or her bleach bottle. And now we slide into Chapter 2 of this train wreck, the money trail. Blake's defense thought they could outsmart the court by submitting heavily redacted financials from Preserve. Like, entire pages were just black ink. They basically handed the court a Sharpie coloring book and hoped no one would notice. But you know who did notice? A whistleblower. And not just any whistleblower, someone with access to the real books. They dropped unredacted files on the table like it was tax season in hell. The receipts were all there. 5 settlement payments from 2013 to 2016, and yes, that includes line items for reputation scrubbing services, ghost-written apology letters, and social media content pre-approved to save face. Basically, it was a budget for legally erasing bad behavior and pretending the brand stood for something other than emotional trauma. Now, here's where it gets delicious. One of the whistleblowers' leaked messages straight up said, "I told Ryan, I'm not going down for this." And suddenly the pieces start clicking, because speculation is exploding that Ryan Reynolds is the leak. Yup, the husband, the Deadpool, Mr. Aviation Gin. Apparently, even he's done with Blake's nonsense and is out here pulling the ultimate not with her move to protect his own brand. And honestly, can you blame him? He's out here playing wholesome, hosting tech summits, selling budget sell plans, while Blake's out here throwing wine like confetti and running a pyramid scheme of short NDAs. If my brand was worth hundreds of millions, I'd be leaking documents too. Slowly, strategically, from a VPN. And now, we pivot to the next humiliation, Taylor Swift. Because of course, Blake had to drag Taylor into this mess. Leaked texts show Blake literally begging Taylor to publicly defend her, asking her to paint her as the clueless CEO who had no idea her empire was built on bleach fumes and intimidation. But Taylor said no, and respectfully. She told Blake it wouldn't be fair to the victims, because unlike some people in this courtroom, Taylor has basic morals and a brain. And what did Blake do in response? She snapped. The leaked texts, now court admissible by the way, include Blake saying, "After a decade, you owe me. I defended you in rooms that would have buried you." And just like that, she lost the Swifties. Within hours, Twitter turned into a battleground. And let's be real. If you're beefing with Taylor Swift during a federal trial, you've already lost. Legally, emotionally, spiritually. The cherry on top? These texts were leaked not by some random intern, but by a former marketing executive on Blake's own PR team, who's now been subpoenaed, because nothing says you're losing the plot like your own employees turning state's witness. Even Judge Lennox had to weigh in on the Swift situation. He called Blake's messages borderline witness coercion, which is judge speak for you might want to lawyer up for another charge. And keep in mind, this is happening while she's already facing perjury allegations, tampered evidence, and now a $204K hush fund. So now, we've got a woman who's allegedly assaulted employees, falsified financials, begged Taylor Swift to lie, and possibly has her husband sabotaging her behind the scenes. At this point, Blake Lively's not in a courtroom, she's in a live autopsy of her entire public persona. And trust me, we are all here for it. Because let's be clear, this isn't just celebrity drama. This is Blake Lively's house of lies collapsing in real time, and the only thing left standing is the trail of bleach stains, broken wine glasses, and Swiftie wrath that she can't PR her way out of. Let's talk about Bernie, shall we? Good old Bernard Collins, the guy originally thrown under the bus as the lone creep in the Preserve disaster. The narrative was clean at first. Bernie was the predator, and Blake was the oblivious CEO who couldn't possibly have known that her brand was rotting from the inside. But then the Slack messages dropped, and honey, those receipts were nuclear. Turns out Blake wasn't just aware of Bernie's behavior, she was actively defending it, not legally, not professionally, but with the cold efficiency of someone more worried about lighting and camera angles than human decency. One message from her literally said, "Keep her on payroll, she photographs well." Let me repeat that. A woman files a harassment complaint, and Blake's concern is that she's photogenic. That's not HR policy. That's PR psychopathy. And the other gem? She didn't get the culture. We're not Whole Foods. I mean, Blake, if by culture you mean toxic gaslighting, late paychecks, and bleaching temper tantrums in the closet, then no, she didn't get the culture. And good for her, because this wasn't a company. It was a cult with a Pinterest board. Now here's the plot twist. Bernie flipped. His lawyer came forward swinging, claiming Blake signed off on image management campaigns and hush payouts. You read that right. Blake wasn't just playing dumb, she was the one holding the playbook. While Bernie was the public scapegoat, Blake was reportedly signing checks, approving silencing deals, and crafting apologies before the victims even had a chance to report the abuse. So congratulations, Blake. You just turned yourself into the villain of your own cover-up. And now Bernie's testifying against her, saying she weaponized harassment complaints for PR. That's right. Blake allegedly turned sexual harassment into a branding strategy. Nothing says empowerment like monetizing other people's trauma while sipping hand-pressed juice from a glass straw. The woman turned her company into a lawsuit factory, and now even her own devils are ratting her out. Speaking of flipping, enter Victoria Chen, Blake's new crisis lawyer, who walked into the courtroom like she was carrying a fire extinguisher for a building already reduced to ash. And what was her first move? She didn't even pretend to fight the charges. Nope. She walked up to the judge and requested a partial immunity deal. Not even full immunity, just partial. Because at this point, even Blake knows she's guilty of something. She just wants to pick what sticks. Chen's excuse for this nuclear-level legal Hail Mary? That Blake was emotionally manipulated, pressured by external forces, and wait for it, influenced by PR interference. Translation: Your Honor, my client is too emotionally fragile to handle accountability, but just strategic enough to run a blackmail empire from her kitchen island. But the court wasn't having it. Because then came the secret dinner leak. Documents showed that Blake, her former lawyer Matt Gabriel, and her PR vultures all had a strategy dinner just 4 days before her sworn deposition. No official record, no notes, no witnesses, just bad intentions and probably overpriced sushi. And while Blake's defense tried to pretend it was innocent, emails leaked by anonymous paralegals blew that lie to bits. These emails showed Gabriel's name on documents that falsely claimed Blake had no contact with Baldoni. A flat-out lie proven wrong by video surveillance. So now her lawyer's caught in the mess. Her new lawyer's begging for mercy. And the court is watching Blake's legal credibility collapse like it's made of gluten-free gingerbread. And here's the kicker. Multiple sources say Ryan Reynolds is the one leaking all of this. One legal clerk even said, only someone close to her would have access to this many internal files. And let's face it, Ryan's not stupid. He saw the writing on the wall and said, "Not today, Satan." You know it's bad when your own husband's behind the leaks. Blake thought she was controlling the narrative, but Ryan's out here playing chess while she's still stuck gluing glitter to a vision board. So now we've arrived at the grand finale. The courtroom is sitting on a mountain of lies, 2 federal judge walkouts, and a trail of whistleblower statements that makes Watergate look like a group project gone wrong. This started as a defamation trial. It's now a potential criminal case with charges of perjury, obstruction, harassment, and financial fraud all on the table. Blake's Hollywood brand? Imploding faster than her career choices. The fans are gone, the press is silent, and her former besties, Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds, are sprinting in the opposite direction like this is a Marvel crossover she didn't get invited to. Even PR outlets that used to fawn over her every red carpet moment have started pulling coverage. She's radioactive now. Not even the algorithm wants to touch her. And let's not forget the holy trinity of courtroom destruction: Matt Gabriel's affidavit, Bernie's testimony, and that $204K hush fund. Together, they've triggered a grand jury review, and prosecutors are reportedly assembling charges that could finally hold this mess accountable. And Blake? She's still posting throwback pics like none of this is happening. Girl, this isn't a vibe, it's a warrant, as one court reporter tweeted after the latest hearing. Ryan's playing chess, Blake's still stuck playing dress up. And honestly, at this point, all she has left are the outfits. Because the brand, the career, the empire, it's all burning. And no amount of pastel filter or staged pap walk is gonna save her now. And if you thought this courtroom chaos was over, trust me, it's only getting started. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what Blake tries and fails to spin next.